Neverwake, the ride in Pixie Hollow. When I was little, I used to believe in fairies. I clapped my hands. I left the window cracked at night. I used to swear I saw lights dancing in the garden, tiny wings, glittering dust. But they don't tell you what happens when you stop believing. They don't die. They just wait. And rot. And change. It started when I found an old children's book in a thrift store. Tales from Neverland. It was buried beneath water-damaged encyclopedias and romance novels with cracked spines. The cover was soft, like velvet. But it smelled wrong. Like iron and mold. Inside, the pages were scratched out with something that looked like claws. But one image remained. Burned in. A fairy hunched and smiling. Not cute. Not beautiful. Her skin was peeling like wet paper. Her wings were bones. And her eyes. There were too many eyes. Scrawled over the page, in a child's handwriting. Don't say her name. She's listening. I said it anyway. Whispered it, like a joke. Tinkerbell. That night, I dreamed of Pixie Hollow. But it wasn't the one from the movies. No soft light. No magic. Just a forest of twisting, blackened trees, every trunk hollowed out and dripping with dark sap. Glittering dust floated in the air, but it was thick, like smoke.
Don't follow the light. She drinks from our eyes. I want to go home.
And then I saw her. Tinkerbell. She was standing upside down, crawling along a tree branch like a spider. Her mouth opened impossibly wide, splitting at the cheeks, and the inside of it, it glowed with black light. She tilted her head and said,
"You're awake too early."
I woke up screaming. In the morning, there was glitter in my pillow. Not the fun kind, wet, sticky, and somehow warm. My fingertips looked burned. My window, which I always keep closed, was wide open. And taped to my mirror was a feather. A long, brittle one. Yellowed, sharp at the tip. It wasn't from any bird I knew. When I touched it, my nose started bleeding. That day at school, I couldn't concentrate. Everything felt thin. Like the world was just a layer of skin waiting to peel. When I blinked, I saw flickers of her, that fairy thing, behind other people's eyes. One girl in class, Jessie, stared at me and whispered.
She's hungry.
When I asked what she meant, she said she didn't remember saying anything at all. 2 days later, a kid in the neighborhood vanished. Eli Ramos, 6 years old, disappeared from his bedroom while his parents watched TV downstairs. No broken window. No footprints. Just gone. The only thing they found was a tiny handprint burned into his wall, made of glittering soot. That night, I heard crying. Not in my house, in my head. A boy sobbing, repeating over and over.
"She's feeding on my tears."
And when I looked in the mirror, my eyes weren't mine anymore. They were glassy, shimmering, reflecting something behind me. Wings. Flickering. Twisted. I stopped sleeping. My room began to change, mold creeping up the corners, soft black vines curling out from under my bed. When I tried to cut one, it bled. And it screamed. I checked the book again. The fairy drawing had changed. She was closer to the page edge now. Her eyes were looking at me. There was a new line written beneath her in rust-colored ink. The hollow is open. Offerings will be taken. Then I got a text from Jessie. Don't let her kiss your forehead. That's how she marks you. I never told Jessie about the dream. Or the mirror. Or the whisper. But last night, I woke up with black glitter smeared across my lips. And something carved into the skin over my heart. Believe. The next day, 5 kids at school didn't show up. Jesse was one of them. Their houses were normal. No signs of struggle. But in each of their backyards, something had grown overnight, a ring of mushrooms, black and glistening like oil. Inside each circle lay a single baby tooth, still bleeding. I went to Jessie's house after school. Her parents wouldn't stop crying. I checked her room. On the floor was a crumpled paper from her sketch pad. It showed me, surrounded by trees with faces, arms reaching from the trunks, and behind me, Tinker Bell, smiling, holding a jar of tears. She had written one sentence beneath it. She wants you next. I didn't dream that night. I woke up in the dream. A forest of blood-colored leaves. The air was thick, like syrup. Ahead of me, fairy lights flickered, but they weren't lights. They were eyes. Dozens of children hung from vines. Not dead. Not awake. Their bodies were limp, suspended in glowing webs that pulsed like organs. Below each child, glass jars filled slowly as tears dripped from their faces. And she was there. Tinker Bell. Her dress was made of stitched skin. Her wings twitched like insect husks. She floated from child to child, humming a broken lullaby and licking the tears from their cheeks before they fell. Then she saw me. Her mouth split into a smile, vertical, from chin to brow. She whispered into my skull, not my ears.
You cry sweeter when you're awake.
The dream wouldn't let me go. Every time I blinked, I was back there. But Neverland was wrong now. Mermaids floated in black water, bloated and eyeless, humming nursery rhymes backwards. The lost boys danced around fires, wearing masks made from other children's faces. And above it all, a castle in the sky hung by veins, dripping gore onto the forest floor. There were no happy thoughts. Only the sound of wings. Wet, dragging wings. And her. I woke up with scratches on my back, 2 deep cuts, shoulder blade to shoulder blade. They throbbed like they were trying to move. In the mirror, for a split second, I saw wings. Not hers. Mine. Like she was growing me. Like I was changing. Then my nose bled black glitter. My teeth ached. I pulled one out. It was hollow inside. At 3 a.m., I got another message. No sender. Just a video. Jessie, naked, eyes black, hanging in the tree vines, crying. Behind her, a crowd of corrupted fairies hovered, twitching like moths. One flew forward. Its face was a child's, torn in half. And then the camera turned. It was my room. My bed. Me, sleeping. And the whisper came again.
We only take what you give, or we'll come for them all.
I started hearing fluttering in the walls. Not mice. Not birds. Wings. Flesh wings. Slapping softly behind the plaster like they were pacing. My mom said I was losing it. She didn't believe in fairies. So that night, they came for her first. I woke to the sound of her choking, gagging on air. I ran to her room and saw them. Tiny shadows swarming across her ceiling like flies. One dropped onto her chest and sank into her mouth, crawling inside her like liquid. She looked at me with glowing white eyes and whispered.
She said you'd watch.
The next morning, my mom was normal again. Smiling. Too much. Eyes too wide. She handed me a mason jar filled with dark, thick water.
For your dreams, she said.
When I opened it that night, the smell hit me, salt, rot, and sugar. I spilled a drop onto my blanket. It sizzled. Burned through the fabric. then disappeared. That night, I dreamed of a field where children with no mouths wept through their eyes. Each held a jar, collecting the tears of others, swapping them, drinking them. Their skin was cracked porcelain, their hair made of cobwebs. And she stood over them, Tinker Bell, arms stretched out like wings. From her back grew a tree of bones, each branch twitching, moaning. She sang.
A tear for a soul, a drop for the gate. The hollow will swallow what love cannot sate.
Jessie came back. But she wasn't Jessie anymore. She walked into class barefoot. Her skin looked waxy, her mouth stitched shut with golden thread. She sat down beside me and stared at my neck. Then she whispered. Even with her lips closed, I heard it.
You didn't offer. So, they took me.
She opened her mouth. The stitches ripped. Something screamed from inside. I found it in the woods behind my house. A tiny door, just 2 feet tall, carved into the base of a gnarled tree. Covered in symbols, some looked like crying eyes, others like baby teeth. As I touched it, something moved on the other side. Slow, scraping, like claws on glass. Then the door creaked open. Inside was a hallway of mirrors. Each one reflected me, but not the real me. One had my eyes missing. One had wings. One was laughing while I bled. And far at the end was her silhouette. Tinker Bell, crawling toward me. Backwards. Upside down. The moment I turned from the door, I was back in Neverland. Except now, it was awake. Everything pulsed, breathed. Trees opened their mouths to scream. The moon dripped like pus. And the fairies didn't fly anymore, they slithered, their wings shredded, dragging their twisted bodies across the air like corpses in the wind. Tinker Bell stood in front of me. She looked like she was made of wax and spider silk. Her face cracked in places, and from the cracks leaked more tears. She leaned forward and pressed her mouth to my ear.
If you cry once more, you'll stay. Forever.
And then she vanished. I opened my eyes. And I was still there. I ran. I didn't care where. The trees moved, reshaping the forest like a living maze. Bark peeled back to reveal watching eyes, and from the canopy above, fairy corpses hung upside down, twitching, leaking golden dust that hissed when it touched the ground. A trail of feathers led me. Not bird feathers with wings. Ripped fairy wings, glistening with blood and glitter, scattered like breadcrumbs. I followed them to a nest made of teeth and hair. Inside, a child curled up, rocking, whispering.
I never stopped believing. That's how she found me.
Their eyes were sewn open. And they were weeping. Not water. More wings. They say every time a child wishes on a star, a fairy is born. But they never say what happens to the unheard wishes. The sad ones. The angry ones. In Neverwake, they collect them. I saw them. Little paper slips folded into origami shapes, hanging like wind chimes from dead branches. Each one whispered when touched. Please bring Daddy back. I wish I was never born. Make them stop hurting me. And beneath the tree, Tinker Bell danced in slow, jerking spirals. With every turn, a wish burned black in the air. She saw me. And she smiled with 1,000 teeth, each one a different child's voice. I found the room. A cavern below the hollow, lined with shelves. Each held hundreds of glass jars. Floating inside, tears, yes, but also souls. Some jars had faces pressed against the glass, mouths wide open in silent screams. Some were foggy with breath and fingernail scratches. Others whispered. I picked one up. It showed me, crying, alone, staring at my own reflection and begging it to end. Tinkerbell appeared behind me in the reflection. Her hand rested on my shoulder. I dropped the jar. It didn't shatter. It laughed. I wasn't alone. Others had wandered into Neverwake. Kids, teens, some even older. All twisted by her. One girl had wings made of bone. She scratched at her own shadow, saying,
It whispers that I never left.
A boy had no mouth. He bled poetry from the holes in his arms. One child floated, sobbing upside down, face buried in a birdcage fused to his skull. They all bowed when Tinkerbell passed by. One of them looked at me and whispered,
Don't blink. If you blink, you'll forget what real feels like.
The final gate was made of jawbones. Human. Child-sized. A sign above read, Entry requires sacrifice. I had one baby tooth left. I felt it wiggle in my mouth. Without thinking, I yanked it out. Blood hit the gate. It opened. Inside, the rot pulsed. A cavern where the walls breathed and sobbed. And in the center was her nest. Tinkerbell sat curled in a throne of hollow skulls. Dozens of lanterns surrounded her, each filled with a floating child's eye. She looked at me. And she offered me wings.
Become. Or be bleed.
I didn't say yes. But she didn't wait. Tinkerbell tore my back open with her fingernails, long, yellowed claws tipped with teeth. No sedation. No magic dust. Just screaming. She wove my skin into wings. Not elegant. Not pretty. They twitched like they were sewn from nerve endings and nightmares. She whispered as she stitched.
Now you can fly. But never leave.
I tried to escape. The sky above the hollow glimmered, like freedom. But the moment I rose above the treetops, they came. Fairies. Hundreds. Twisted, skeletal, clicking their teeth in unison. Their wings shredded the air. Their eyes rolled with black glitter. They circled me, slicing my new wings with glassy feathers. I fell. And when I landed, the forest applauded, trees clapping with branches of fingers. I'd failed the test. I crawled to the lake at the center of the hollow. It whispered. The surface wasn't water, it was memory. Rippling with names, voices, moments. I saw my own reflection. Then my birth. My first smile. My mother holding me. All of it pulled away, drawn down like leaves in a drain. I screamed, "Stop." The lake replied, "She is replacing you. We are where your name ends." And in the ripples, I saw another child back in my real world, wearing my face. My voice. Laughing. Living my life. Tinkerbell had made a copy. I saw her standing in my room, through the rippling mirror of the hollow. She hugged my mom. Took selfies with my friends. Went to school. Nobody noticed it wasn't me. She wasn't just pretending. She was perfect. She cried at the right times. Laughed at the right jokes. And as I watched, I saw her eyes flick toward me through the mirror. Just once. And she winked. There's a tree at the very center of Neverwake. Its bark is made of stitched skin. Its leaves are feathers and bone. Every child who's lost to the hollow is sewn into its trunk, eyes open, watching. You can still hear them breathing. Some scream. Others whisper lullabies. Their mouths move, but only one word comes out.
Wake. 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 Wake.
But the dream doesn't end. Because she doesn't let it end. Tinkerbell hovers above the tree, cradling a bundle wrapped in wings and weeping. She coos.
This one cried before I touched her. So ripe. So ready.
She turns to me and says,
Don't worry, love. There's room for you in the roots.
The hollow began to sing. Not with music. With children's screams, looped and layered into a twisted lullaby. Fairies emerged in formation, gliding above the tree of stitched souls, dragging glass thimbles and silver needles. They plucked tears straight from the eyes of the Sonin children, threading them into veils. Each veil shimmered, and each one whispered the child's final wish before they were taken. Tinkerbell held up one veil. She smiled. She wore it like a wedding dress.
This one wished to never be alone. So, I kept her company. Forever.
The ground split open like lips. Jagged, wooden fangs formed a tunnel of chewing trees. I was shoved in by the wingless fairies, crawling and weeping. Inside, the nursery of taken things. Cribs lined the walls. But not for babies. Inside each, item stolen from the real world. A teddy bear with its eyes gouged out. A diary that wrote its own pages in blood. A pacifier made from dried tongues. I saw a familiar item. My favorite childhood blanket. Still warm. When I touched it, it screamed. She's replacing your memories, one by one. In the center of the nursery was a crib unlike the others. It rocked on its own. Inside was nothing. Just glitter. But when I leaned closer, it moved. The glitter rose, shaping itself into a twisted face made of light and shards, grinning, warping. It lunged at me. I screamed. The walls shook. And then she came. Tinkerbell reached into the crib and pulled the creature back, stroking it like a kitten.
You can't touch the unformed. They're made from discarded dreams. They bite when hungry.
She handed it a child's tooth and whispered.
Chew slow.
They took me to a hallway carved from bone. At the end, a door made from faces. Children's faces. Melted, twisted, blinking. One face looked exactly like mine. It smiled, cracked open, and whispered. You're next, version 3. I didn't understand. Until Tinkerbell leaned down beside me.
You've come here 3 times, love. Each time you begged to forget. Each time you offered your soul. And each time, I let you go back. But never whole.
I stepped through the door. And I was back home. In my bed. Morning light pouring through the curtains. Everything was normal. But when I looked in the mirror, my reflection didn't blink. I blinked. It didn't. It leaned forward and mouthed. You never left. Then Tinkerbell's voice whispered behind my ear.
This is your new cage. Every time they tuck you in, you'll remember what you've lost. Every smile they give you will taste like ash. And when you cry again, I'll come back.
My parents called me down for breakfast. Smiling. Normal. But their laughter glitched, like audio skipping in a broken cartoon. I looked closer and saw that their faces were too smooth, too perfect. No pores. No blinking. Like they were made of wax and memory. Behind them, the walls breathed. Tinkerbell's voice played over the radio.
Eat up, little darling. You'll need strength to scream.
That night, it rained. Not water. Tears. Children's tears fell from the sky, flooding the streets. And if it touched you, it showed you everything. People collapsed in the streets, screaming. Parents saw their kids taken. Kids saw their forgotten nightmares. Everyone who cried was marked. Across the rooftops, I saw Tinker Bell dancing barefoot in the puddles, collecting the tears in her wings. Every drop shimmered with a memory. I went to school, but the halls were silent. Classrooms empty. Only desks filled with teeth remained, arranged neatly in rows. And chalkboards wept yellow dust that smelled like burnt candy. A teacher stood in the corner, eyes stitched shut. She whispered,
The students wished to fly away. So she taught them to jump.
Outside, I saw a child float past the window, head down, arms limp, face twisted in joy. He smiled at me.
I'm finally light enough.
The city became wallpapered with missing children's posters. Each had a date. Each had my face. But they were different versions of me, different clothes, hair, smiles. All of them gone. All of them marked. Last seen near window. I passed a mirror on the street. And my reflection wasn't me anymore. It was Tinker Bell. She held up a finger to her lips.
Sure. They'll hear you forgetting.
I woke up in a field I didn't recognize. Rows and rows of toys, clothes, baby shoes. Each item stuck in the ground like tombstones. A sign read, Here lie the firsts. First laughs. First steps. First tears. Tinker Bell hovered above the field, her arms cradling a bundle of glowing orbs, first memories, pulsing with light. She looked down at me and smiled. We don't need them anymore. You're better, Hollow. And behind me, I heard all the children I'd forgotten calling my name. Come back. We still remember you. I found myself back at my childhood playground. Everything looked just as I remembered, until I saw the children. They weren't playing. They were posed, frozen in place with wide, forced smiles and hollow eyes. Swings moved on their own, creaking like screams in the wind. One child turned her head, unnaturally slow, and whispered,
She makes us laugh until we bleed.
A carousel spun too fast. Blood streaked the horses. A small body flung off, but no one looked. Tinker Bell had built a carnival in the woods, lit by lanterns made of eyeballs. Every game was rigged. The claw machine held writhing limbs. The fortune teller offered only expiration dates. The cotton candy was made from chewed hair and teeth. A sign blinked in sickly neon. Welcome to your last happy memory. I saw my birthday party there, balloons floating like intestines, cake made of skin. Everyone sang. But they were all copies of me. And Tinker Bell sat at the center, blowing out my candle. Deeper in the forest, she kept her glass womb, a sphere pulsing with pink light and trapped screams. Inside it, children floated, curled into fetal positions. Each of them stared out, silently mouthing their names over and over. She fed them dust, dripped from her wings, made from the forgotten. I stepped close. And I saw myself in there. The original me. Still untouched. Still innocent. But slowly fading. And Tinker Bell turned and said,
We keep one pure. Just in case we need to start again.
It was time. The fairies gathered in a circle, dancing in reverse. Tinker Bell hovered above, holding a screaming child wrapped in silk. She kissed its forehead, whispering,
You'll be better than the last. This time, you won't cry too soon.
A doppelganger of the child formed from dust and bone, perfect smile, perfect laugh, no memory of pain. They released it into the real world. The real child? Dragged down into the hollow, where the others waited, silent and twitching. Back in my world, no one remembered anything. The missing posters vanished overnight. My parents called me the wrong name. Even I couldn't remember my own birthday. I looked in the mirror and saw her eyes inside my face. The voice in my head whispered, "You never left. You only became." And somewhere in the distance, a bell rang. Tinker Bell's wings shimmered in the reflection. She smiled. She rocks the hollow to sleep every night. A sky of stitched stars, a lullaby made of whimpers. Children lie in rows, tucked into coffins of candy and bone. Each holds a plush doll in their image, stitched mouths, blinking eyes. She floats overhead, whispering in a voice like broken music boxes.
Sleep tight. Dream small. Cry often.
And when they close their eyes, she slips into their dreams and rewrites them. One child refused to sleep. He screamed until his throat tore. He screamed so loudly, even the real world heard him. Windows cracked. Parents panicked. A ripple went through reality. And in that moment, I remembered. All of it. What she took. Who I was. And I screamed too. And the world shook. But she came for me instantly. Tinker Bell didn't speak this time. She opened her mouth and let the rot pour out, black glitter, shattered music, spider-laced winds. It swallowed everything. Cities cracked. Oceans reversed. Every child who had ever cried too hard vanished from their homes, dragged into the roots of Neverwake. She stood on a tower of lost toys, her wings rotted and divine.
Now no one remembers. And that makes them all mine.
I no longer know who I am. There's no mirror. No home. No name. Only her voice. Only the hollow. And every time a child cries in the dark, her wings twitch, and she turns toward the sound.
There's still room beneath the tree. If you're still here, if you're still you, hold on tight to your memories. Lock them deep. Because she's listening. And she only needs one tear to find you.
Sleep well. Dream quiet. And if you hear bells, don't look up. Like and subscribe.
If you dare to explore the darkness deeper, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. The Hollow is waiting, and so is the next tale.
Neverwake, The Rod in Pixie Hollow by Veil of Dark Whispers.